Hello, my keto family. My name is Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food, and welcome to another edition of Sarah's School with Additives. And today's topic, I've been warning you, is about aspartame. And I read it a few times because, of course, I'm brain dead. But one of the things that I hadn't realized, it's the blue packet NutraSweet. But mostly you will find it in diet sodas, some yogurts, some diet sodas, some yogurts, some gums, a lot of gums, and baby food and medication. So you've got to be looking everywhere. And I don't know if you've noticed this, if you've had a cold or taken something, but man, is that stuff getting sweet. And if it's got the aspartame in it, I have this aftertaste. Like, what did I just have a Diet Coke or something? So the sweetening of America, like we can't take medicine that hasn't been sweetened? Apparently not. We have to have a sweet taste to everything, even if the sweet taste is a chemical. And actually, aspartame is worse than a chemical. It's a drug. And what happened is that the scientist from G.D. Searle, bought out by Monsanto, producers of that ground fertilizer Roundup that is used in all the foods that you're buying that aren't organic, and probably they could still have GMOs in them, and so they've been sprayed with Roundup too. But that Roundup's another whole story, right? This is aspartame. And so the scientist from G.D. Searle, go ahead, say that 3 times after you did 4 overnights in a row, okay? Little Missy? Yeah. So he was doing a test to find some sort of drug that could help with seizures, okay? And what happened was he had some of the powder of this drug called aspartame, and it's got a name this long. And when it has a name this long, you might want to avoid it. It's not good for you, okay? So aspartame is like an abbreviated name. It's got 2 names. But anyway, he licked his finger to pick up a piece of paper. You know, have you ever done that? To pick up a piece of paper, and it tasted sweet. And he went, oh, well, what's this? And so they took a little U-turn, and they probably continued to make it into a seizure medicine, but they discovered something, and of course have made billions over it. And so, yeah, and it's called a drug. That's the important thing to know. This is not just some little sweetener. It is a drug, and it causes all kinds of things. Would you like to hear what it causes? Okay. Headaches, dizziness, confusion, memory loss, severe drowsiness, eye problems, which is including decreased vision, blurring, bright flashes, and tunnel vision, severe depression, anxiety attacks, and extreme irritability. I thought that was me being sleep deprived. And I'm not even having any aspartame. So anyway, I don't mean to make light of this, because some of you may have some of these symptoms and you just figure, hey, it's just part of the deal of like living in America, and it's not. So, and here are some other ones that, a smaller number, but nevertheless, these people reported these things. Auditory problems, which means the hearing, including tinnitus, which most people say is tinnitus. I've got that ringing all the time. Extreme noise intolerance, hearing impairment, eye pain, pins and needles, convulsions, blackouts, slurring of speech, tremors, palpitations, rapid heartbeat, shortness of breath, nausea, diarrhea, abdominal pain, severe joint pain, restless leg syndrome, and various skin problems, including severe itching and hives. A few have also reported things like problems swallowing, actual weight gain, which you may have heard from other people, is that yes, artificial sweeteners can cause weight gain and do cause weight gain. I've heard it more with like Splenda, but anyway, and perhaps scariest of all, blindness in one or both eyes. And this doctor, his name is Dr. Roberts, he wrote a book on this, Aspartame Disease, an ignored epidemic, and it came out in 2001. And you have to know that these sort of books, papers, scientific documents, things put out for peer review are so squashed because the FDA does not want to let go of this because this is a golden goose with companies, okay? So they're not in any hurry to let it go. So whenever there has been required testing and things done, honest to God, things have spilled on the results so they're unprintable. They have lost things in transit that could give the scientific data and change how things are allowed, what things are okay to keep producing and feeding to the public. And there's this thing called GRAS, and it is generally regarded as, now somebody said, anyway, anyway, I knew it a second ago. So anyway, just be careful. You will find it in the blue packets, NutraSweet, lots of diet sodas, some yogurts, many, many, many medications, and baby food, which is just absolutely abominable to think that that's where it is. So, they were looking for a treatment for ulcers. That's how this whole thing started. And when they started doing some scientific experimenting with it, or testing with it, the first major red flag was that part of this produced holes in the brains of mice. Okay, so when we get to the end of the Alzheimer's, although they're stopping funding for it, did you know that? And in Cambridge, which is where an awful lot of drug companies reside, Cambridge, Mass, where Harvard is, they're laying off 200 to 300 people from these companies, and they all work in the Alzheimer's field. And now where is that coming from, right? Are they too close to getting some sort of knowledge about what causes it? Do you think that having artificial sweeteners for 10, 20, 30, 40 years could be drilling holes in these poor people's heads and causing this disease? You just have to wonder. So one of the things that happened was, so people, of course, were taking G.D. Searle to court. And what happened was he was working for, how did it go? He was a lawyer for the federal government, and he took them to court to prosecute them, and then decided to quit working as a lawyer representing this company. And guess what? He took a job. No, he was working for the U.S. Attorney's Office. He quit this job and he went to work for G.D. Searle. So after trying to prosecute them, their pot must have been very, very sweet. And what he did was he delayed the proceedings long enough to put any charges against aspartame past the statute of limitations. I'm telling you, the government has its big paws in something to do with aspartame more than any other of these additives that we will get to. So, and this I didn't know. Searle's CEO way back when, must have been the 80s, was Donald Rumsfeld, right? The war hero, the man that you see and off. He became Searle's CEO. But he's best known as George Bush's defense secretary. So, very interesting, isn't it? So, over the years, there have been 6 1,000 foods, drinks, and medicines that are sweetened with aspartame. So I don't think any of us have escaped it, and now we have to go looking for it. So it says here, are non-caloric synthetic sweeteners contributing to obesity? And many of us have felt that for a long, long time, at least anecdotally, if not from scientific evidence that doesn't have something spilled on it, or it gets lost in transit, really. A growing body of scientific evidence has indicated that consumption of artificial sweeteners, such as aspartame, as a way of controlling weight may actually be counterproductive. A study was done in 2014 by an Israeli study group, and they were looking at obesity-related metabolic conditions such as type 2 diabetes. And I guess it interferes with our gut bacteria that regulates blood sugar. So three of these suspects are saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame. And I've seen lots of keto website stars, so to speak, put sucralose in their bulletproof coffees or their regular coffees. So, yeah. So those three, saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame, actually raised blood sugar levels. What happens when that happens? Insulin gets released. And what happens when that happens? It is a fat storage hormone. Okay? And once that happens, there is no fat burning going on. It stops that operation and becomes an insulin-producing body, just so you know. So, they're saying that aspartame alters the gut bacteria. And they're saying that the brain tumors that the studies have shown are incredible and unprecedented. And that's kind of scary as well. So there's tons and tons of things here. I did tease you with the Taylor Swift thing. Diet Coke wanted them to shill for Diet Coke. And Michael Jacobson from the Center for Science of CSPI, and I can't think of it, consumer, whatever it is. I know him because I told you about the popcorn thing. He told the Grammy-winning singer who has helped promote the work of anti-cancer charities that to the extent of that, her endorsement would be actually, saying yes to a possible cancer-causing drug, which is aspartame. So she backed out, and she would be risking her fans' risk of cancer, and she does not want to do that. So I thought that was kind of cool. Recent research links heart risk and diet soda consumption in older women. Now, this station has a niche of older women because we've all done all the other food diets and we couldn't lose weight, on again, off again. And, and Weight Watchers is built that way, just so you know. It's promoted to be that way intentionally. So they can, they get you and they know that for 70 weeks they're going to hold on to you because you want to lose that weight. And it's not sustainable because you're feeding carbs to a body that doesn't need, want, or should be having carbs anymore if you're an older woman. But do your own research. So yeah, they observed cardiovascular health in 60,000 women in the Women's Health Initiative Observation Study. And they found that some of the things that happened were body mass index, smoking, hormone therapy use, physical activity, energy intake, salt intake, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, and non-diet beverage intake. The analysis found, that's all the things that they looked at in these women. The analysis also found that on average, the subjects who consumed 2 or more diet drinks a day had a higher prevalence of diabetes, high blood pressure, and higher body mass index. So just be aware of these things. This is a drug. This is a serious drug that, if you gotta have a soda, why not one of those stevia sodas, or I think it's Zevia, something like that. So, yeah. So just be very, very careful. This is not a friend. Now, they did insist on one study, and this was so scary and so fraudulent. So, okay, they were given permission to do a research, a study, to prove aspartame's safety, okay? And I guess this was, well, this just, like I told you, this is the biggest chapter here. So anyway, they were going to be doing this experiment on human beings, right? So it was to see if indeed it really caused seizures, because some people were complaining about seizures. And that, I can only imagine the danger and the brain activity with seizures, right? So they did it, and they did 16 subjects and people. And so they found that the findings of this test on these 16 individuals was that aspartame does not cause seizures. Do you know what they did before they did the study, or during the study? They gave the participants anti-seizure medication, so they wouldn't have seizures during it. So then when they did the test findings, they could say, we did studies and aspartame does not cause seizures. So this particular chapter is so chock full. And then airline pilots, and when we hear of airline pilots and weird things happening, like remember that time that this one pilot was flying someplace and he ended up in a different track in a different state or over a different state? Well, aspartame is one of the things that pilots are either told not to have or encouraged not to have before they fly. In fact, some of the things that can happen are worse than the alcohol that a lot of them have been accused of drinking before flying. And it could be that they had diet sodas. It could help or hinder their judgment, and it could cause suspensions of consciousness, blackouts, and dangerous lack of judgment. And this was done, this study was done by a Dr. Deagle, a California-based holistic and integrative medicine practitioner, okay? And he's also worked as a civil aviation examiner. And so it's an unwritten rule that aspartame was not to be used at the Air Force Academy, and most commercial pilots know of the danger it posed years ago. So there you go on that. So they're encouraged not to drink it. And we know the disastrous things that can happen. All pilots are potential victims of sudden memory loss, dizziness during instrument flight, and gradual loss of vision. So in the article Flying Safety, Aspartame Consumer Safety's Network founder, Mary Nash Stoddard, claimed that a pilot hotline set up by her organization for confidential reports of adverse reactions to aspartame had fielded over 500 phone calls, some about incidents of grand mal seizures in the cockpits of commercial airliners. All right. And I'm going to close with this because you guys could be getting bored, because it's 20 minutes. You finished that one cup of coffee. You have to get in your shower. You know you won't have time to watch the second half of this, right? Imagine the lobbyists against the stevia sweetener. Stevia has been so tamped down by, well, now it's Monsanto, because, and I'm sure other artificial sweeteners. Stevia is a naturally occurring sweetener. It comes from leaves of plants in southeastern United States, as well as South America. And so it's a naturally occurring one. And so if you use stevia, you shouldn't be getting into any trouble. But the aspartame drug company, Monsanto, and has paid lobbyists thousands and millions and all that to squash any of their approval and any of their marketing. So just beware. Just know that this war against fake food that can hurt you, kill you, or give you something chronic when you think you're doing the best you can. I mean, who didn't think that artificial sweeteners were BBC's better bad choices for all these years? They're not. If you have to have a soda, have that real Coke, have that real Canada Dry ginger ale. I'm telling you, the sugar is going to be less toxic in your system than these chemicals. They are not innocent, and I don't want anybody to get sick because of them. So, and especially with baby food and baby medication, read those labels if you've got a little one that you're buying medication for, and even scripts. Ask that pharmacist what goes in them, because aspartame goes into a lot of prescriptions too. Yes, yes. And maybe they don't have to disclose it to you, or maybe it's in that tiny little print that you get that they staple onto the prescription bag when you pick it up, and the first thing you do is rip it open and start taking the medication. Maybe we need to be better label readers with medication as well. So this concludes Sarah's school. How exhausting was it today for you? Pretty exhausting, huh? Oh my God. So that's that. And next time we'll have another topic, but it won't be aspartame. Just become a label reader and avoid it at all costs. This has been Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom in Food, with just another installment of the blah, 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 blah. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time, and it will be shorter too. Bye-bye for now.